Ronald Greg. How are y'all?
Well, how are you?
We got to ask the question that we ask everybody, and that is, how long have y'all been together, and how did y'all first meet?
In January, it'll be 27 years.
Congratulations.
I always refer back to him because he's going to say I get it wrong. And I'm like, look, it's been a long time. But at that time when we actually met, he was married to a woman. He had 2 kids and
I was a pastor.
And he was a pastor. Yeah, I was going to leave that about. But yeah, and he was a pastor. And one on the way. But of course, when this all happened, I didn't know. And again, I was already dating somebody, so I wasn't even thinking about it being a thing. He wasn't on my radar like that at all. We didn't really see each other after that, right?
I didn't see him for a year.
Like, it was like a year later, I didn't see him. And like I said, during that little conversation, he had told me that he had a church and that, to come to his church or whatever. And for me, at that moment, when he said he had a church, I was done. Because my first lover that I had been with him for like six or 7 years. And as we say nowadays, he was a church queen.
You as a married man with kids and running the church to sitting here now on the couch. What happened?
I liked him, and I knew he liked me. But at that time, it was just not a good time for either one of us. He called me a year later at my house, and I was shocked because I didn't think that he was interested. It had been a whole year. And he had told me that he looked for my church one day and he never found it. So then he thought I was lying when I said I had a church and I was a pastor. Well, I did, but he just didn't know that my church was behind another building, so he couldn't find it. But we met up. The day he called me, I said, I'm coming over to see you. And he said, you're not coming. No. What happened?
That's not what happened.
What happened?
Okay, so again, it was like a year later, and I did call him. But again, being, knowing that at that moment, feeling like I was that bitch. At that time, I had started dating someone else. And I was like, I know this gay guy who has a church. We need to go and work his nerves.
No. You're wrong. Because I went to see you. That's how you knew that I had a new church. I went to see you. And when I went to your house, I said, come to my church. It's my pastor anniversary. Okay, it's my anniversary. Please come to the church. And you said, I'm going to come. And I said, I know you're not going to come. And he said, yes, he was. He did come. But he came with a house full of faggots.
Wait, let's back it up. Wait.
He brought a lot of queens with him.
How long were you married to this woman, Greg?
11 years.
11 years. Did you know that you were attracted to men when you first got with her?
Yep.
Okay.
I wasn't seeing any guys, and I had never really done anything at that point. But I knew that I was interested. As a matter of fact, I had even mentioned it to my mom that I felt like I was gay, or, I had the feelings of being gay. And she said, like most parents say, boy, go sit down. That's just a thought. It's not real. It's really not what you are. So she pushed it off. She didn't want to believe it. I knew it, but I felt like, which most people do. That's why I see gay people now, young, and a lot of them will marry a girl to make the attention go away from people thinking that, you're gay. So they tend to jump up and, I'm going to get involved with this girl. I'm going to marry this girl. People are not going to call me gay. It does not work. If it's not something that you are, it's not going to work. In the long run, you're still going to do what you should be doing. After he came to my church, my marriage was basically over after that. So I held on just to finish out the anniversary.
Oh, I came in sickening, bitch. Don't leave that out. I came into church sickening, and I sat on the front row, bitch. Yes, I did. In all white. Yes, I did.
With his boyfriend sitting behind him, and he was sitting with another guy.
God, okay.
The boyfriend that I was dating when we met at Walmart was not the boyfriend I was dating.
Already broke up.
Yeah, was not the guy I was dating when we came to the church.
I don't know why he got involved with the second guy, because he already liked me at that point. So I don't get it. But I guess he felt like I hadn't actually left her house.
The second guy was a rebound, and I actually told him I wasn't ready for a relationship. But when you have that person that's just like right there, right when when you've gone through something, because that breakup with that boyfriend really fucked me up. So the other guy was just there and it just happened, but I ended up breaking up with him because I was like, you're giving me 110% and I'm not giving you that back. So that's how that kind of happened with the overlap of the second boyfriend. Mind you, I've only been in 3 relationships, but that's another story. But anyway, going back to what you were saying, we started dating back and forth and he was still living with his wife, even though they were separated. Even though they were broke up, they were separated.
Because wait a minute. That's because I had that's because I had children. It wasn't as easy for me to just jump up and do whatever. I had children, and my children were very close to me. They were closer to me than they was to their mother. So it was very hard to try to juggle both. I knew I was going to be with him, and I knew that there was no change in that. However, I was trying to figure out how I could make it a smooth transition and have my children still understand me and all of that. So there's a lot going on, but I knew that we were going to be together at that point.
Going back, we were hanging out and then I was sending him back home to his wife. So because he was still with his wife, I'm not making no commitment to somebody who's still going home to their wife. I don't do that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I actually left altogether at one point, and I was staying at my mother's, and we were seeing each other. And then he pops up one day. I get there to his house, and he tells me he's not sure if he wants us to be together like that. I said, "Have you lost your motherfucking mind?" I just left. I moved out, left my wife, my kids. I mean, are you kidding me? And he's like, "Well, I mean, I just don't know."
Wait. You leaving something out there. So when you go back a little bit, remember I told you he was coming back and forth. He was hanging out with me, then he was going home to the wife. So one night after we had a little nice exchange, I took him back home to his wife. This is back when we had beepers. Remember when we had beepers? Yeah, he beeps me and say, "Come back and get me now." I was like, "What do you mean come back and get you now?" She told me to get out. She told me to get out.
No.
Did she know that was going on?
She thought that he was cheating on her with another woman.
She kept saying it was a woman.
So she was like, "You go be with that bitch that you've been with." Because again, he was spending hours with me. I was taking him home like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. So, so all this time she was convinced he was cheating on her with another woman. So
one night we got ready to go to bed, and I got to bed and everything was fine. And then all of a sudden she shook me and she's like, "Why are you here?" And I said, "What do you mean, why am I here? I'm laying down, I'm tired." "Oh, well, I don't think you should be here. You ain't been here no other time, and why don't you just go?" I said, "Okay, fine." So I got up and I called him and I said, "Pick me up." Then she was furious because she really didn't want me to go anywhere. But because she had said go, it just gave me a reason to really want to go. So I called him and I said, "Pick me up now." She told me to go. So,
and I'm like, "Oh shit, what do you mean pick it?" So of course, at this time I didn't have a car. So I was driving a friend of mine's car. I go back and I'm still not paying attention to how all this is unfolding. So I pull up to the house to pick him up. This big pregnant woman starts running towards the car. I'm like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "What the hell is going on?"
This idiot flies, it takes off, and still leave me there.
You see a big pregnant woman coming towards you that looked like Sophia from The Color Purple. I was like, "What in the hell is going on?" Now, mind you, by this time, I'm only like 22, 23.
Let's forward this. I did move in with him. I moved in with him. I was staying with him, and my wife was still pregnant. And I made a promise to her, when you have the child, I'll be there, because I was always there when my children were born, and I was not going to do anything different. He, at that point, was having a hard time because he had a lot of people telling him, "Oh, that guy's a pastor and he ain't going to go back to his wife. You shouldn't be with him. Why are you messing with him?" So it was a lot to deal with because he had people bugging in his ear that I was only there for the enjoyment and then I was going to go back to my wife. So I told him, I said, once she had the baby, I got to go to be there for the delivery. And he believed in his heart that if I came back, if I saw the delivery, I was not going to come back. And I kept telling him, I'm coming back home. I just need to be there when she has the baby. So she called me. She had my last quarter. She had it was New Year's, right? It was close to New Year's. She called me, and I went up there with her, and I sat there and held her hand while she had the baby. And she said, "Are you gonna come home?" I said, "No." And she said, "You should come home. You know, I need you with the kids." And I said, "Yes, I get that, but you know, we're not gonna be together. I mean, it's just not gonna work."
You leaving out the little drama that I did in between that time, because I'm gonna keep it real. Within that time, when he was back and forth with the wife and coming to me every so often, I was seeing somebody else too. Because I was not putting all, but let's be clear. I told him about the other person.
But he wasn't his lover.
He wasn't my lover, but I was seeing somebody else at the same time.
I got
who
a
happened
question.
to also be named Greg.
Yes, so I got a surprise for you, Ronald.
What?
I did some research and I got Greg on the line. I'm about to click him over. No, I'm just playing.
Baby.
Trust me, he don't want it. Let him have it before. He don't want it.
That was, when I tell you that was extra drama, because at that time I was staying like in a studio apartment. Remember, he was coming back and forth, but I had my own place. So again, I was single and ready to mingle.
Let's just move on. I was at his house. We had sex. The boy called him on the phone, and he had the nerve to jump up, get dressed, to go meet the boy while I'm at his house in his bed.
So what you do?
Well, first of all, the boy didn't know I was there, I guess. But he called because he didn't think Ronald had left yet. And I cussed his motherfucking ass out. He might be going over there to see you, but he just got out the bed with me, and I guarantee you he's coming back. So don't try it. It got nasty. It was nasty. He told me, "You need to go home to your wife. Why are you messing with him?" And I told him he needed to go to hell and not tell him.
Yeah, it was messy.
Yes.
It was messy.
And he started the mess because what he did was wrong. He was in the bed with me. He got up to go meet this boy because the boy had came to town. And I'm like, "Where are you going?" Because I know the phone rang, and after he's like, I didn't hear what he said, but he was talking on the phone. Then all of a sudden, I gotta go. I said, "What is going on? What's happening?"
That was a whole different conversation. And the only reason I jumped up is I didn't know that the guy didn't
Jumped
live
up
in.
because he wanted sex with the guy because he had never had sex with him. He had been messing with him, but he hadn't actually had sex. So he left to go have sex with this boy. You know, I don't play. That's the truth.
That's not what happened.
Yes. That's
Okay.
On New Year's, we officially decided we were going to be in a relationship.
No.
It was on New Year's.
No. We didn't decide we were going to be in a relationship on New Year's Eve. I gave you a ultimatum because we were together then. But he still would not call me his boyfriend. He refused to call me his boyfriend, but we were together. And I said to him, "Don't think that this is what it's going to be. This is not going to happen. You need to make up your mind and decide what you're going to do." So he surprised me. New Year's Eve, we went out.
Okay.
We've been together ever since.
Yeah.
Been together ever since. Okay, so over the course of the 27 years that y'all have been together, what have been some of your biggest challenges, and how have you overcome them?
For me, the biggest challenge was when we finally got together and we had moved away and he had come out to his mother. I still hadn't come out to my mother.
Mm.
Even though people knew I was gay, quote unquote, because of my first lover who was a church queen, I still had not officially come out. So when we got together, we moved away to Seattle. We moved away together. And so we had lived there. So when we finally got ready to come back, he was like, "You need to tell your mother." And of course, from the South and preacher and all that, I was like, "I don't know." And so someone—
No, he said, "I'm not going to tell her until I'm ready."
Yeah.
And I kept saying to him, I said, with what all that happened with me and him together, I said, she's going to find, somebody's going to call her and tell her, because it was spreading. I mean, people knew we were together. I was a pastor. So, I had to leave the city that I was pastoring because all of this was going to come out. And my wife was one that put most of it out.
Mm.
Oh, he left me. She was convinced that it was a girl, but she was already saying, you know, he left me. And then finally, I wrote her a letter one day.
You wrote me a letter?
I wrote Ronald a letter because he went to Seattle before me, and then I was going to come and meet him there. And I wrote him a letter because I said, listen, I'm going to send you some money. And he said, okay. I called him and I said, did you get it? He said, no, I don't think you sent the money. I ain't got it yet. I kept saying, Ronald, I sent the money. I know I sent the money. You need to look and be sure. He said, no, I didn't get it. Only to find out that the letter came back to me and it went to the house where she was. She opened the letter and that's when she found out who Ronald really was and who I was seeing. She had thought it was a woman the whole time.
How did she respond to that?
I had to knock her down on the floor. I mean, it was bad.
Technically, he outed himself to his wife.
Oh,
So his wife didn't know about another man and that she was with me until he sent me a letter talking about how much he loved me and how much he wanted to be with me. And she opened it up and read this letter. And there was money in the letter that he had sent me.
So she keep the money?
She took the money out. That's why we fought. She took the money out of the envelope and she said, he won't get it and neither will you. And
how much was it?
Oh, probably about $100. Right?
No, it was like $350.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, she took the money and I said, I'm here to get my money. I don't want to talk about that else. I'm here to get my money that I work for. You're not getting it. And I said, whatever you do, you're getting close. Don't put your hands on me. Oh, you think you sending money to somebody and you should have been giving me the money. And I said, I give you money for the children. This money is my money and don't put your hands on me. I kept warning her. Well, she got angry enough to push me and that was not good. What was it? I knocked her down on the floor and took my money. And my mother heard it because she lived right there. We lived in a duplex. So my mother and sister and all of them ran over to the house because they heard the big bump because it was like up against the wall. When I hit her, she fell up against the wall and went down and they ran in the house.
It's gonna get a domestic violence charge.
I had never hit my wife ever. But I felt like when I tell you don't mess with my money, that's not something I play with. Give me my money. Oh, you're not getting money back. Tell this little punk or whoever he is, he won't be getting this. You know, she was just taking it way too far, but I got my money. And I mailed it back to him.
In terms of the obstacles, because we're trying to get back on track of what you were saying. The obstacle probably happened when I had to come out to my mom. Well, I didn't get to come out to my mother. My first lover's boyfriend called my mother on her job and told her about me and him. So that's how I ended up, quote unquote, coming out.
Said your son is gay. He's tore up somebody's home. The man's a pastor and he's sleeping with a pastor. I mean, he gave her details.
But yeah, but the other option, I guess you would say that to kind of keep it brief, I would say that we've probably gone through every obstacle that you could think of a relationship going through.
Yeah.
And yeah, every obstacle that a couple could go through, you fill in the blanks. Yeah. We've gone through, and the way that we were able to overcome it, I guess would say basically because of what happened when we first got together and we moved away to Seattle, and it was just us, and us having that foundation of working through things and trying to make sure, because trust me, there was other drama. We could write a book. There was other drama that happened when we moved to Seattle, and it was a whole lot. And all we had was each other to lean on. And so during those difficult times, we created that bond. So when those other things that happen that normally break up relationships, if you know what I mean, those were the things I think that were the glue that we were able to kind of talk through and rebound from things that have broken up a lot of relationships. So when people say, oh, how did you make it so long? It's like, it was day by day. There was no magic pill. Nobody has that perfect relationship. But like I said, to to keep it just kind of even kilter, every obstacle that you could think of that a gay couple goes through that ends up breaking them up, I could say we've pretty much been through them. And that's been the way that we've overcome them, is that when we first got together, there was so much adversity when we first got together, that when those obstacles happened 5 or 7 years after all that, it kind of like that was the glue that just kind of held us together. That we knew that, you know, we had that bond, that he was there for me, I'm there for him in the midst of everything else.
After 27 years, how do you keep the passion in your relationship?
Well, I would say for me, I don't really require a lot. I like simple things like going out to dinner and having that one-on-one time with him. And sometimes he can get so busy with doing stuff every now and then, I do have to reel him in and say, listen, you know, we're not doing this and we're not doing that. But other than that, I think you should. This is funny. A lady told me many years ago, and I thought it was funny back then, but it's true. You get married, you're together, you have a honeymoon. After that, people tend to drift off doing different things. But she said the one thing you have to do is keep the honey around the moon. Try to keep the honey around the moon. When that goes away, there's no connection.